This is episode number 73 with Kyle Martin. Hello everyone, I'm Julian Placino, and welcome to the Pathways to Success podcast, where I interview experts on leadership, personal development, business, health and fitness, and many other topics to help you find your unique pathway to success. Having a deep recruiting background, I leverage my ability to attract top performers and conduct in-depth interviews to uncover the secrets to success from a highly diverse group of experts, then share these lessons to help you find your unique pathway to success. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you soon on the Pathways to Success. This episode is brought to you by CompeteEveryday.com, a global lifestyle brand that provides competitors everywhere the positive motivation to take on their greatest obstacles and compete for their life. Now, this is a very unique sponsor because when you look at their products, they're kind of this perfect blend of motivational messaging and high-quality fitness and lifestyle apparel. So they have t-shirts, hoodies, joggers, tank tops, shorts for men and women that display inspiring messaging like be a difference maker, beat yesterday, raise the bar, end on empty. And my personal favorite, compete hard, dig deep, kick ass, repeat. And there's even some funny ones like their Do Not Judge Me tee, where the O is in the shape of a donut, because Jake Thompson, the owner of Compete, has a fascination with donuts. So there's something here for everyone. I highly encourage you to check them out. I'm going to spell this out for you. That's CompeteEveryday.com, CompeteEveryday.com. And if you use the code Julian, that's Julian, my name, you get 10% off your order. So make sure to check them out at CompeteEveryday.com today. What's happening, everyone? Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Pathways to Success podcast. This week, I'm featuring Kyle Martin, and Kyle is a personal trainer, a fitness entrepreneur, a former competitive bodybuilder who is planning to make a return to the stage, so that's exciting. Keep an eye out for that. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the golden age of bodybuilding, what he means by that and why he's trying to bring that back into the present day, his best tips on diet, nutrition, exercise, and also personal development. Having coached clients over 10 years, we talk about the commonalities of the people who have changed and what they have done to create that kind of permanent change. So much information packed into this episode, so make sure to tune in, take notes, share this out with everyone that you know, and on to the interview. So welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Pathways to Success podcast. I am super excited about my guest today, and his name is Kyle Martin. And Kyle is a personal trainer, a fitness entrepreneur, a digital marketer, and also a former competitive bodybuilder. So I am anxious to pry into the mind of Kyle Martin today. How are you, man?
Pretty good.
Good. All right. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show. Thanks for coming out. Kyle, where did we meet again? We met at Clinton's thing, right?
Yes.
Interactive?
Yes, Interactive, that event.
Yeah. And you were the only one to really reach out to me because I'm not sure if you knew I was speaking that night or whatnot, but I remember you were like, hey, you look pretty fit. And I was like, well, compared to you, not really.
I appreciate that. Well, when I first saw you, I was like, man, he works out. It's just... we got to talk.
So as far something that's really big about you and kind of an identifiable characteristic is that you're really big into fitness and particularly the sport of bodybuilding. So tell us, how did you get into bodybuilding? What interested you? Tell us that story.
Okay. Well, I've been pretty much into fitness my entire life. I had an athletic background. I grew up playing football. My dad was a power lifter. Mm-hmm. He was always a big guy, so I always looked up to my dad. I was like, man, I would love to, I want to be big like him when I grow up. So whenever I got old enough, we were in football in middle school, and that's kind of when that age that you start to hit puberty that they introduced the weights. And when I finally got to the weights, it was just incredible because you could literally change your body and take it from, just a basic frame, and you could turn it into a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just pretty much came down to how much effort you wanted to put into it. So I loved having that ability, that control of, okay, hey, if I really want to build this physique, if I really want to get stronger, all I have to depend on is myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, I enjoy team sports. I think they're very important. But the thing about football is the entire team had to be working and synchronized together to be successful. But with the weights, it was all me. So I had total control of that, and that was always a big piece to me. But if you want to know what really made me cross the line and take it really serious was I saw Pumping Iron with Arnold back in the day, 1975. I think they filmed that. That just totally changed my life. I mean, I watched it every single day.
Yeah.
And some guys, they say you get bit by the bug. I got bit by the bug.
Yeah.
And from that day on, that's all I focused on. And that was, I mean, I never looked back. It was just crazy. I got away from football and I focused full time on bodybuilding. And I did my first show it was my senior year of high school. It was my first contest, and it was just incredible. I was known at the school as the bodybuilder, and I always had my chicken breasts and stuff like that. So that was pretty much that's how it all got started.
That's how it all got started.
Yeah.
And Pumping Iron, I've watched that maybe over 30 times.
Wow, okay, yeah.
And especially since at that time bodybuilding was kind of like obscure, and it was still kind of looked at as sort of a freak show, right?
Yes.
But what was really cool about that were the personalities and the characters behind it. Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the guys over there. And was there one particular character that you identified in Pumping Iron than another? Or?
Arnold.
Yeah.
Man, I just loved his whole. I mean, I'm a tall guy.
Yeah.
I have very long.
And how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
And you're about, how much are you weighing right now?
Probably like 230, 235.
Intimidating looking dude, man.
I'm not mean, I promise. I'm nice.
He's not. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I always liked Arnold because I had a very similar frame to him.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stronger guys in football that were just naturally strong, they tended to be kind of shorter, more stocky.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very natural for me to be strong. So I was always attracted to Arnold because he had the long muscle strength, and he also wasn't as strong as what most people thought. Because you have really long limbs, you have to move that weight a long distance. If you're doing a squat, you have to go a lot further than what someone who's short has to go. So it's a lot harder. So I always just identify with him. I noticed that similarity.
Yeah, and you also have like like a natural taper. Your shoulders are wide, and like your waist is like really. And I hear in bodybuilding that's a very attractive kind of thing. Right?
I appreciate that. I work very hard on that. That's one thing. It's I don't want to knock on the bodybuilders today because I know they work hard, but the priorities have just kind of shifted from having a small waist to just trying to get freaky big.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't ever really attractive to me. So those guys from the 70s, they really had to focus on a small waist. And there's exercises that you do specifically to do that called vacuums. And I mean, those are they will kick your butt. You hang from a bar, suck in your stomach as hard as you can and hold it. Man, that hurts more than crunches. So there's exercises. I mean, I'll wear a belt, but I'll pull it super tight. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you have to do to keep that stomach small. But yeah, that's what I want. That's what I focus on.
So I know something that you were passionate about discussing, and I mean your handle is the golden age of bodybuilding. So compare and contrast that. What was the golden age of bodybuilding, and how does it compare to today's bodybuilders?
I would say kind of what I was just saying. The guys today, and it's starting to make a come around. It's starting to make a switch. There's a division today that's called classic physique. So it's starting to make a shift. But I would just say the guys today, it's focused more on size and being freaky, and the guys from the golden age was more about beauty and aesthetics.
Yeah.
The way I always think about it, if Mount Olympus existed, the guys from the 70s would be who lived on that mountain.
So names like a Frank Zane,
Serge Nubret, Arnold, Ed Corney, Robbie Robinson. I mean,
what are the dimensions of those dudes? Like how tall and how big? How much do they weigh?
Man, it's hard to tell. I mean, a lot of the guys. Arnold was 6'2", so he kind of towered over everybody. So I would say around 5'9", 5'10". I met Robbie Robinson in person, and he wasn't as tall as what I thought he would be. I was actually surprised. I mean, I got a picture together with him, and the top of his head kind of lined up right at my shoulder, and I was really surprised. I was expecting him to be taller, but yeah, about around there, around 200 pounds. But it's not about. That was the thing, though. It's not about being big. It's about how do you look?
Yeah.
You know, bodybuilding is an illusion. You know, you have small wrists and a small frame. If you can develop that muscle, it's going to make it appear huge, but in an aesthetic, pleasing way. You know, but yeah.
So how did we get from the golden era to today? Like what influenced those changes? I mean, is it the judging? Is it the market? Is it the athletes themselves?
I think it's a combination of things. What I think happened, I'm just going to be honest, the drugs continued to, there was new drugs that came out, and there was a lot of experimenting. Like literally working out in bodybuilding is relatively a new thing. The guys from the 70s is what really kind of put it on the map with pumping iron. And it just continued to, I can't think of the word, transition, you know, as they came up with new drugs, the bodybuilders would take them and say, wow, this worked more. And I think what's happening is they took so many drugs that started to peak to where we're at right now, to where, okay, this is what the body will look like on all the drugs possible. And people are starting to say, hey, that doesn't look good. So the drugs peaked out, and now people are looking at it, and that's why I think the classic physique division is coming back to where people are like, okay, but what looks more pleasing, you know? And I think that's what's kind of starting to come back right now.
And the drugs you're talking about are anabolic steroids? Yeah. So that's a huge factor in it. So I guess I'm curious. So it is for the person who is not that educated about bodybuilding to achieve, like, I don't want to name specific names, but you think of the freaky athlete, that's impossible to achieve without steroids?
Are you saying a pro bodybuilder?
Yeah.
Of today? Yeah.
How
I mean,
how is that, like, if everyone knows that, how is that even possible and acceptable? You know what I mean?
I don't want to necessarily take back what I said, but there are genetic freaks out there.
Yeah.
I've seen some guys who have never taken any drugs, and they look insane.
Yeah.
But if you want to look like, you know, a top guy today, to where they're completely, the body fat's so low to where it's just crazy looking, yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to say, you know, you can't build a great physique without them. That's not true.
So when you won your first competition, like, did you have a teacher? Like, how did you even know how to start preparing yourself for that first? Because you won. What was the competition? How many people were you up against?
It was the Ronnie Coleman Classic, which was
that's the big one.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Are there pictures on your Facebook for that? I didn't see any.
Yeah, there are a few on my Facebook. Yeah. There's some on my Instagram too. But yeah, that is a very big show. Every year, I think a new division opens for that show. It's huge. But yeah, that was a big show, and that's exactly why I chose it. I was like, if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it big. So I reached out. I found a coach. I started training in Dallas. I left the suburb, and I went to train in Dallas because I knew that's where the guys that were the big guys that were successful in bodybuilding.
Is there a specific gym that you trained in?
Exactly, yeah. There was a gym that was called The Gym, literally.
The Gym?
Yeah. And I was referred by a really good bodybuilder. He said, hey, man, he was like 57, and he looked insane. He looked incredible.
Yeah.
And he said, if you want to do a show, then this is who you have to go talk to. And that was big because I was like 18. And at that time, I mean, I remember my buddy at the time, a close friend of mine, he's like, oh, you know, you don't need to be going and seeing a trainer. You can just read books on it. You know, you can just, you know, watch YouTube videos on it. And I was just like, yeah, but wouldn't it make more sense to have somebody who's already done it show me how to do it? Like, it just makes more sense to me.
And give you feedback through conversation.
Give you feedback. And there's, you know, a book is good. I use books as reference, but a book can't tell you where you are at specifically.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So I reached out to him, and I trained with him for 6 months. And then he was like, you know what? I think you're ready. If you want to do this, I think you'll do very well. And that's what I did. And I went into training, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
That is so crazy. So how many people competed in your division, and what was your division?
That was a teen division. So
it was a teen? Okay.
Yeah, the very first, I did 2 shows back to back. I did the 2009 teen division. There was like 13 guys in my class, which was insane. I placed 4th. I placed 4th in that show, and that was devastating to me because I go to win. I don't go to make an appearance or say, hey, I didn't know. I go to win. So I was like, okay, this is never going to happen again. So I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to win this show. And that's exactly what I did. So that show, I think there were like 5 in my division.
So you won first place in your second show?
In the second show.
Okay,
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was your first one. Okay, yeah.
So that was I came back the next year and I won it.
What'd you do different?
What did I do different? Man, I went and found, okay, the first show, my legs weren't big enough. So I was like, okay, I need to work on my legs. So I went and found, I don't want to drop names, but he had the biggest legs. I was like, I have to go and do whatever I have to do to train with him to get my legs. And I met him, and I was scared of him. I mean, he was not a friendly guy. He was very quiet. So I was like, Mr. So-and-so, I really appreciate, you work hard in here. I look up to you. You got some great legs, and I would love to train with you if you don't mind. And he was very quiet, and he was like, okay, if you can, we'll do one workout. And if you can do this workout and work out hard, then we'll do that. And that's what we did. And I seriously threw up everywhere.
Wow.
But yeah, that's what we did. And I trained with him in this garage grungy gym. And that's what we did. And I brought my legs up and I won the next year.
So that was the only thing that really kind of held you back was your legs?
Yeah.
So you identified your area of deficit. You looked for someone who had achieved the result you've looked to, and then you found a mentor.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how else has that sort of played a role in your fitness career?
Oh man.
Like posing. Where did you learn posing?
Posing, that was through my coach. But that's like how you said, it's kind of like intuitive. There was a guy that I came across that I could tell my posing was just kind of clunky. And the coach at that time, he was really good at prepping, but he was kind of a basic poser. So I did go to somebody who had more of a flow to their posing, and I did get him to help me because it's like I said, it was more intuitive. I can see if I have something that's lacking, then I need to find someone who's a pro at it. But that was something that whenever we talked, I mean, we had lunch, that you really opened my eyes to is double down on that. Quadruple down on that. And that's one thing I've noticed is I've kind of done these things on my own of reaching out to someone who is better. But what I've noticed is a lot of people will be like, well, they don't really kind of see the value in it. So I feel like I'm kind of doing it by myself. Like I'm just going to take this chance, and if it doesn't work, whatever. But whenever we met, you really opened my eyes to where, hey, you need to double down on this. Like if it's working, then put all your effort into it.
Yeah.
And that's what will really open some doors and has made a big improvement in my life.
And specifically, we like the marketing piece of things, right? And basically, it's so as a recruiter, I go look for skill sets and I pair them up with jobs, right? It just dawned on me, I've been using that for years in reverse and applying it to finding mentors. Like whenever I would find something I needed to do, I'd go look for the skill set and then go reach out to complete strangers, which is something that I felt very comfortable with. And that's what it is about. Because when I share this idea in public, like when I speak in public, like at a Clinton's event, people are like, but how do I find a mentor? And I'm like, what do you mean, how do you find a mentor?
Right.
It's just, you just go out and find one, right?
Right.
And then you're like, once you find one, how do I get one to pay attention to you? And I was like, what are you talking about? This is so now I'm writing the book that really outlines that. And you're such a beautiful case example of why this actually works. And what's great about you, Kyle, is you took the information and you did something with it, dude.
Totally.
You put it into action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Putting it into action, I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they don't take action.
And I think that's also what has made you a successful bodybuilder too, because of your mind and your way of thinking and developing yourself, right? So tell me the importance of that. Like, how do you feed your mind? What are you putting into you?
Reading.
Yeah.
Books.
What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? It's called, I'm reading actually a few books, actually. The book that I read on my way over here, it's actually called Turning the Thing Around. It's an older book. I don't know if you're familiar with football, but Jimmy Johnson of the Dallas Cowboys, he came into the Cowboys literally with the worst record in the NFL, turned that team around, and they won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. So that book I'm reading just kind of details all of that process.
Interesting. What did you learn from that?
You got to build teams. You got to build teams, and it's more of a psychology. Jimmy Johnson had a degree in psychology. So he was able to help each individual and develop their skills and their strengths to help them all work together. So that's what I've been reading on. I mean, that's something that, you know, given as bodybuilding, it's not a team sport. So that was something I've made a commitment of, how can I improve that? How can I get better at building a team? Because the things I want to do and I have in the works is all team related. So that's something I've got to improve my skills with, and I'm definitely motivated to do that.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So let's kind of tap into more of the fitness things, because you know, you're obviously you're a personal trainer as well, so you work with people one-on-one. So I'm curious, whenever you meet with clients, like, are there commonalities in figuring out what helps them move the needle to actually make a change in their life?
Absolutely.
What is that?
It seems so simple, but it is, man, it's a secret. It's a secret. It's my secret I'm going to give you. You got to sit down and just ask yourself, why do you want to get in shape?
Okay.
And, you know, people will say, oh, well, I want to be healthier, or I want to look better. But that's not why. If you want to know the truth of something, ask why 3 times. Oh. So that's what I always do. I ask them.
Deep.
We dig down deeper to the deepest core. And everybody's different. You know, some people will say, oh, I was the fat kid in school. You know, or I was a skinny kid in school, or, you know, I was never really athletic. You know, it's just, you come down to that core, and then we build a plan from that core.
Interesting.
So from that core, we devise a plan, and I don't do it for them. I have them do it. You know, you write your plan. I'll be here and I'll help you and guide you and hold you accountable and push you through that, but you have to write your own plan.
Why do you think that works?
Because they're the ones who can, they're the only person who can make that happen, their results happen. So they have to think through that process and make their process. So that's what they have to do. And if I do it for them, it's not the same. I mean, whenever I first got into personal training, I would try to do that for them and write their plan for them, but it would never really work. But the long-term results came from somebody having to write their plan. You know, I help them with that, and I'll ask them, that's important, I ask them questions. Why do you want to do that? Okay, is that what you think you should do, or is that what you want to do? Wow. You know, it comes down to what do they want? You know, and then building that plan off of that.
I love that approach, Kyle. You know why? Because you're focusing on the individual. Part of the book that I'm writing is that a lot of people, the way they teach and learn, it's like you assume kind of a one-size-fits-all, but everyone's an individual.
Yes.
And you start by asking them questions and finding out their reason. Because when you find out that reason, all you really have to, if you show them the reason and then you can prove to them like a transformation, like show them a result, all you have to do is guide them and they kind of do the rest instead of forcing them to do something they don't want to do. That's like pushing a boulder uphill.
Exactly.
I like what you do because you sort of unlock it within them.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's very, very interesting. So what was your reason, Kyle, getting into shape?
Oh, man. I was always the lanky kid. I mean, I don't want to.
So you're what is your natural body type? Are you an ecto?
I'm more of an ecto. What would be an ectomesomorph?
That's like kind of the ideal for bodybuilding, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to be more thin, but if I really want to build muscle, I can build muscle.
Yeah.
So just a plain ectomorph, they tend to. It's very difficult for them to gain muscle.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in between. So I have more of a balance, but I can still pack on the mass. But what is my why? I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah, like did you get picked on and stuff like that? Did you just have self like?
I mean, I don't want to say I got picked on because I was always tall. So people. Yeah. I mean, I was always tall, so people weren't.
And you played sports. You were cool,
yeah,
right?
I played sports. Yeah. What was my why? I mean, I think when I keep going back to it, I want to inspire people to take on hard stuff. Like I love war movies with like Alexander the Great. Like he leads an entire team. Exactly. Yeah. He leads an entire army to go do something that they wouldn't be able to do if it wasn't for him. And so that's kind of what I think about. It's how can I inspire other people to go and take on something that's difficult and challenging and what people consider impossible.
And you were thinking about that at 18 years old?
Yeah.
I sure as heck wasn't thinking about that at 18 years old. Wow. So do you think you were kind of born with this mindset, or did something sort of cultivate that in you? Or?
That's something I've always wondered. Because whenever I was that age, it was hard for me to make friends because
Really?
Yeah, because
Why?
I thought different. We had different thoughts. Like most people were so focused on what was going on in school, and I was just like, man, I want to open a business.
Really?
Yeah, I want to open a business.
Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
Yeah,
No?
not real. No.
So you really are unique.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'll agree with that. Yeah. Just thinking. Yeah, I mean, because like if I think about it now, like whenever I was 12, I had a necklace business in 5th grade, so I was running a necklace business, and then when I was 13, 14, I had my own lawn business. I was cutting yards, going door to door. Yeah. So I guess it's in my blood. I don't know.
That's interesting, and I still to this day I keep asking this question, and I love having entrepreneurs on the podcast and getting people's different perspectives. But do you think entrepreneurs are born, or are they cultivated?
They're born.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
think
say so.
I think so too. I think you can teach an entrepreneurial mindset, but I think there's some people that's why I really latched onto you, Kyle, because you were not just the fitness guy. You were an entrepreneur. You were an achiever. You wanted to do great things, and you wanted to help a lot of people with a servant mentality. You weren't about making money and getting rich. It was about helping people.
Right.
And by helping other people, you yourself, benefit from that as well.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I love it. So jumping back to the fitness side of things, how long have you been a personal trainer for?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years?
Yeah, almost 10 years.
So you've trained a lot of people then. Okay.
Hundreds.
So we figured out what the first step is to help someone change, right? So what's the next thing to get them to move the needle? And then they write their plan. That's the next step. So talk to us like just the basics of exercise and nutrition then. Where does someone start?
Well, everybody's different, so you're going to have to your starting point is what's important. Where we start at is going to be whatever you're capable of doing. So
and real quick, how important is it to first identify what your body type is, because you have to tailor a plan around that, don't you?
Right. So usually I start people off with just the basics. So getting them on a consistent eating plan, eating plan, a basic workout program, and then based on how they progress, then that's when I will start making adjustments. Through my experience, I can see, okay, their body type is going to respond this way. I can tell, because I've noticed some people that they've never worked out before in their life, they'll pick up a dumbbell and they're natural. Like their body they pick it up.
And then
I can just tell that they're going to do well. And then I see other people that they struggle, or it's a little bit more challenging for them. So we take a different approach to get them to come around. I've worked with so many people to where I can just literally just see it and know exactly, okay, we need to do this instead.
Interesting. So are there core fundamental, let's say, eating habits that everyone should adopt?
Yes. And that would be, I'll see how to put this. I'm old school. I believe in, it's kind of got a bad name now, is clean eating. I think a lot of people, I've noticed, they try to take the easy way out, and they want to still eat junk but still lose weight. And that's not, you're not going to be able to sustain that for a long period of time. I mean, your body's going to catch up to you. So I believe in eating wholesome, clean foods, chicken breast, rice, fish, tilapia, vegetables. If take away modern technology, if we were living in the wild, what is it that you'd be able to eat? There's not going to be fast food and processed things and stuff like that. It's going to be wholesome, natural foods, growing out of the ground, or that's what I want to focus on, is wholesome, clean foods.
So that's kind of a cool core fundamental, which is eat stuff from the earth.
Exactly.
Nothing manufactured or processed and stuff like that. I think one key thing of every nutritionist that I've ever spoken with, every fitness person, is cut out processed sugar.
Absolutely.
I don't know of anyone who uses processed sugar as part of their regimen. So so I'm going through this whole odyssey right now through nutrition. So Lane Wydell, he was a previous guest on the podcast, competitive bodybuilder, great friend of mine, and is actually my coach. I want you guys to meet. I think you guys would love hanging out with each other and sharing philosophies and stuff. But so the first 3 weeks we worked together, he put me on keto. At the time when I met you, I was on keto. I lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks. And so for people who don't know, keto is high fat, low carbohydrate diet, right? And and the thing about him is that we do check-ins every couple of weeks, and he just looks at my body. And then he sees how my body is changing towards the diet and also the exercise, and then he makes little tweaks. So slowly we're reintroducing carbohydrates back into me. So like rice cakes and also sweet potatoes and things like that. And dude, honestly, I'm 35 now. I didn't know my body could change this way. What's really interesting about really high level people like you guys is that you're constantly changing things. You're constantly changing your diet, sources of protein, sources of carbohydrate, and the way that you do exercise. There's so many different ways to move your body. It's like you can never, if you do it right, if you do the plan right, you'll never plateau, kind of.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's diet. So tell us a little bit about some basics of exercise and how you do that.
The basics of exercise. Okay, this is something that I'm really big on.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised. Not a lot of people talk about this. It's not the routine that matters. It's learning how to use your muscle through the movement.
Use your muscle through the movement.
If that makes sense.
Explain.
Okay. How to isolate your muscle through the movement.
Okay.
If you're doing a bench press, if you're doing a chest press, if you're doing a cable fly, you have to build the pathways to be able to isolate that muscle. I see about 90% of people in the gym, they just go through the motions, and they may be doing a chest press exercise, but I can tell they're using every muscle all over their body. And if you're not isolating, you're not focusing on the exercise, what it's intended for. So whenever you are able to get really good at focusing and isolating a muscle is when you're going to really start seeing results. That's why I tell everybody, don't worry about the weight. Obviously you want the weight to be challenging and difficult, but a lot for young guys who want to put on size and build muscle and strength, they try to throw all this weight on there and they just throw it all over the place, and then they wonder why they're not packing on the muscle. They get stronger, but they're like, hey, I can't get my chest bigger, I can't get my arms bigger. You're using too much weight and you're not isolating. You have to focus in and zero in on the muscle and get good at isolating it. I mean, I call it a skill. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you get better at over time.
Yeah.
To zero in on the muscle, squeeze it as hard as you can, bring it all the way down, stretch that muscle, and lengthen it as much as you can. I mean, it should hurt, and then right back up, squeeze it, contract, and flex.
What's interesting is that there are different philosophies towards different exercises, because the weightlifter, I heard, looks for mechanical advantages.
Right.
But the bodybuilder is looking to exhaust the muscle.
Right, exactly. And that's my approach is for bodybuilding. Now, I know powerlifters, CrossFitters, those are different goals.
Different goals, yeah.
But for me, bodybuilding, developing the physique, that's isolation.
And about the lightweights, because Lane, he's got me, the first week he had me doing giant sets. I didn't know what a giant set was. But
brutal.
It's high repetition and back to back to back to back. It's like, it was crazy. And I was literally doing this sad, man. I was doing giant sets for my biceps with, they were like 15-pound weights. But dude, I would burn like it was crazy. And it's like an intense workout. But yeah, so I mean, that would be, I guess, kind of my advice from where I am in my fitness experience is, don't have ego about the weights, because you have to focus on the results and not necessarily, the look of what's going on in the process.
Exactly. Leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And
what do you think what's the most common mistake you see people make?
Not working out hard enough and focusing too much on the weight.
So let me ask you this then. How do you know, because I have had a tendency before to go too hard and just keep going until there's the point of diminishing returns. How do you know when you're working out too hard or not enough? If you're by yourself.
You're not going to know that until you train with somebody who's more advanced than you, because they're going to guide you.
Yeah.
And I definitely recommend that. You need to find somebody who is advanced, who has that experience, who can guide you through that process. When I first experienced it with my coach, he took me to failure, but he let me know that that's failure, and I didn't go past that. And so I learned my limits. So from that day forward, I was able to know my red line, to where I wasn't going to do harm, but training hard enough to where, it should hurt. It should be hard when you work out. When I'm doing weights, I feel like I'm going to puke every workout. you know? So, I mean, you got to train hard. You got to train with intensity. You got to train with passion. I mean, every workout is like a fight for me. You know, it's not to look pretty. It's not to show off. It's about getting in there and getting work done and trying to, I mean, I take it personal. Like if I'm doing chest, I'm taking it personal that my chest is saying, I know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I know what you got coming. And it's my job to trick my chest and hit it with something it's not expecting, to where it's totally caught off guard. And it's like, okay, I give up.
So is going to failure, is that a pretty good rule of thumb that you should be failing after each?
It's controversial. Some people say, no, you don't need it. But for me, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've tried different training styles. When I went to failure, oh man, my body wouldn't stop growing. Now, I know some people have different body types and it probably wouldn't be the best for them. But for me, heck
Failure.
yeah.
So there's a lot of testing and getting to know your body.
Absolutely. Getting to know your body. Yes. Absolutely.
Cool, man. What's been the most counterintuitive thing about fitness that you learned that actually created a result? Something that surprised you about an exercise methodology or nutrition that you didn't think would work that actually did?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, like for me, for example, it's like when I do like cardio, for example. Okay, yeah, here's a great example. So apparently I have been doing cardio wrong for like 10 years because I thought cardio was effective whenever I was just completely drenched in sweat, when my heart rate was up to like 170 or 180, but apparently that's wrong. I've been cannibalizing my muscle. So my coach, he's like, dude, you need to take it back. Do not exceed 120 to 130 beats per minute, so you're only burning fat and not muscle. And to me, that was counterintuitive because I didn't feel like I was working hard.
Right.
But dude, I could keep going longer, and that worked, dude. That worked for me.
You're exactly right. That's funny that you said that, because I think that's a common mistake everybody does. When I was getting ready for my first contest, I was running.
Yeah.
For my cardio, I was running, and it's just I started noticing my legs started like shriveling up.
Yeah.
And my coach was like, "Whoa, no.
Yeah.
Stop running. I want you walking at a medium pace for the next 45 minutes." I was like, "How? I'm not going to burn any fat doing that."
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. I was like, "This is ridiculous." But he's right. You're exactly right. That is probably the biggest one I noticed was like, I was like, this is not true. But it is. And I did it, and I kept my muscle and I dropped the body fat.
So how do you do cardio now?
I usually just do the bike.
Bike?
Yeah. I mean, I'm relatively lean right now, and I focus primarily on nutrition to get my body fat down. But if I do cardio, it's going to be something relatively low intensity. That's usually what I'll focus on is a low intensity cardio. And every once in a while, I will run because I just personally enjoy it for the mental aspect. But that's about it. Low intensity cardio.
Yeah. Low intensity cardio. Lane will sometimes throw in some HIIT though, just to kind of mix things up. I don't know if you do that. But for me, something also I didn't know that would get my heart rate up so much is like the Stairmaster.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing sexy about looking at me when I'm doing cardio because it's so slow.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not drenched either. It's like an even, just kind of like I might have a little bit of dampness on my chest, but I'm right there at 130 beats per minute. And dude, that moves the needle and it works for me. So, any thoughts on like supplementation and protein, glutamine, BCAAs? I mean, anything that you typically recommend your people?
Oh man, I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I think a lot of it's just overrated. I mean,
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on who. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder, you don't need it. If you're a busy mom and you have 3 kids, and of course it's going to help you to drink a protein shake 3 times a day with 2 meals.
Yeah.
You know, that would definitely benefit her life. So yes, in that situation, absolutely. But for what I do and what my passion is, bodybuilding, you are not going to be able to get on stage and be successful by drinking 3 protein shakes a day and only eating 2 times a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to happen. Your body doesn't digest it. It's not very beneficial. You know, it's very minimal results. I think a lot of it, the marketing for supplements is just so overrated. They overplay it so much to where that's probably the most common question I'm asked. If just a random person will come up to me on the street,
what supplement should I take?
What protein powder do you take? And I'm like, man, I haven't taken protein since I was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
You know, like I rarely take protein shakes. And if it's just a convenience, I'm running late, okay, let me grab a protein shake. But, man, it's solid food is what's going to build that dense muscle, that physique, and really allow you to recover from intense workouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Let's close on a topic here that you actually sent me that you're really passionate about. I mean, we talked about bodybuilding, the golden age of it, how you got into it, a lot of your personal development philosophies. I love it. But something that's really core to you also is is teaching others, inspiring others, and helping others. And it sounds like you had that when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
So how has that played a role in your life, Kyle?
Teaching it's incredible because I'm able to help other people, and I'm able to develop other people to do things that they never thought they could, or I can make an impact on somebody's life to where they're better than when we first met. If I can teach somebody, I get better at learning and knowing what I'm talking about. It's the two ways that you learn. You learn from seeing and then doing. So I'm become I retain my knowledge, and then also helping somebody. It's just it's very rewarding to see somebody. I've had many clients because I do personal training, but I also do self development with my clients.
Yeah.
I'm having them read books.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I'm having them read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah, and it will like I had one client. She got a promotion at her job.
Really?
Yeah. Because of the book that I had her reading and having her get out of her comfort zone, not just in the gym, but just in business. I remember she was saying that she had an employee that she was having a hard time communicating with her. And I said, well, why don't you call your boss above you and ask her if she was you, what would she do in that situation? And that was I read that from a book. Yeah, I read that from a book, and she did that, and it totally changed their entire relationship.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's just like being able to help somebody and teach because I just teach what I read from books to my clients, and I'm able to see that process happen. It's huge. I love that. I would, going forward, I see myself in my 40s and my 50s, I would love to be able to just teach young entrepreneurs how to build amazing businesses and change the world. Yeah. Invent and innovate and totally revolutionize the way we live our life.
Yeah. So what is next for you, Kyle? Are you going to compete again? Like, you going to focus on the business, or tell us what's in store for the future for you?
Right now I'm focusing on business, but competing again is definitely in the future. With the Classic Physique division, I've definitely had my eye on that since that came out back a few years ago. I will definitely be coming up on stage. I've been training recently. I've been training very hard, almost to competition standards. So
awesome.
We'll see. I'm keeping up with my physique, and I'm definitely have my eye on that for sure.
Awesome, man. Cool. Kyle, I really enjoyed this conversation, man, but I want people to be able to work with you and connect with you directly and follow you. So tell us all your contact information, plug your websites, your social, tell us all that.
Yeah, you can shoot me an email at it's Kyle Martin at goldenagebodybuilding.net, and then you can get me on Instagram. It'd be Instagram.com/golden_age_bodybuilding, and that's where I have all my pictures. I'll post tips on there, workout tips, just my 2 cents. That's where all that stuff is.
And are you still taking on clients personally nowadays? Because I know you're super busy.
Yeah, I am super busy. I just refined it down to where I'm only taking on people who are extremely serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're ready to really challenge yourself and really push yourself to the next level, then I'll totally invest in you. Yeah.
So not necessarily competition standards, but just someone who really wants to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah. You come in there and bust your butt. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, everyone. Kyle Martin. So this has been an incredible episode, Kyle. Thank you so much. I think you shared a ton of value. Everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Share this out with everyone that you know. Connect with Kyle. He's a great dude. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.